All right, well, welcome in. Kariann and I are talking today about just some of the things in Heroic Disgrace. I wanted to basically pick out a couple of the spots and just get your feedback and thoughts. So, kind of the first place that we get to in the book is the counseling session with Libby. Okay. Libby is Kariann and my counselor, psychologist. And we like to think of her as kind of part of the family. Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a section in the book called That Counseling Session. And this is the part where Libby asks us, do you want to stay married? That type of thing. What was that like for you back then? What was it like living with Scott Box back then?
That was so long ago. It's hard to remember that far back.
It was.
But
it's true.
No, I mean, I think obviously for us, that question was actually really easy because the answer, of course, was yes.
It was for me.
Well, it was for me too.
Okay, well, see, and that's a big thing. So talk about that for just a minute then. Why was that so easy for you? What do you mean by that?
Well, easy probably isn't the right word, would be my guess. I don't know. Because I don't know. That's a hard one.
Well, it is. Okay, so let me help just in this. I think both of us grew up in, I know both of us grew up in Christian homes where not only was the concept of staying married just a generalized, you get married to stay married. Yeah. But we had it modeled in our parents. Right. So.
And that's probably why I'm saying it wasn't when I say it wasn't an easy answer, I mean, it was an easy answer because, of course, that's just what you do. You stay married.
Right.
And yet the reality of what that actually meant then was like, oh, man, if we're going to stay married like this, that's not going to be easy.
Yeah. So divorce was never really an option.
No.
And yet the concept of living with me,
it wasn't going to look like what was modeled for us.
It wasn't going to look like.
I mean, what was modeled for us was a very healthy, I think in both of our situations.
Yeah, seemed to be healthy, right?
From a kid's perspective,
yeah.
Our parents had healthy relationships and their ups and downs, but healthy.
Yeah.
And strong. And that wasn't what we had.
So no, and we can get more into that down the road, but I think that one of the comments that I make just at the end of that subsection is Kariann and I were committed to growing up and growing old together. And we just needed Libby to remind us at that point in time. She was just asking, all right, do you want to stay married?
Yeah.
And the answer was yes. Talk just a second about the whole idea of growing together.
Right. And I think for us, and we've even talked about it most recently, probably, that you're always changing. So we aren't who we were when we were 20 and 22. We're different people now. We're older. And
at the minimum, we are older.
Hopefully we've matured, but we're different people. We've grown and we could either opt to kind of grow essentially apart,
right.
Just growing, but not choosing, no, let's grow, but let's also grow together. Let's understand each other as we grow and make that commitment.
Which we did. I know I wanted to stay married. I felt so. As I move on, and I'm just skipping through this idea that I had that really was hard for me was this feeling at the time. I had gained a ton of weight, and I knew something wasn't right in my head. I didn't know what to. Neither of us knew what to explain or how to explain it. Just there was something going on. I felt repulsive.
Oh.
No, well, I did. I mean, I don't say that for sympathy. I felt I repulsed myself. I mean, so there was that weird feeling of I haven't lived up to my own expectations of myself, let alone the expectations I thought you had of me. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about dealing with somebody who was struggling with his own self-worth.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's really tricky because I wasn't repulsed by you, whether that's physically or emotionally or anything like that.
Thank you.
That's not where I was at all. But if that's what you were,
Right.
feeling or putting on me, that was really what you were feeling of yourself.
Right.
It is tricky because one of the things that drew me to you was you were this kind of larger than life,
Yes.
very confident, everybody's friend.
Right.
And you kind of weren't that anymore. You weren't sure of yourself, and that was really strange to me. So from that, I wasn't repulsed. So that's not the thing. But there is that. Oh, but
What happened to the guy I fell in love with?
Well, and why don't you see yourself as the man anymore?
Huh.
Like,
Yeah.
you still are that, but in a different way.
Well, I know I was very broken. And later we found out that I was struggling with a very real mental disorder. And I mean, bipolar, manic depressive was the diagnosis. And then the repulsiveness, I guess that's not an important place to stay, but being the man was a thing that I wanted to be, and I knew I couldn't be, and yet I did know that you were attracted to that guy, and I wasn't sure I could.
It had to look different. You had to switch in your head what being the man meant.
But what did that mean to you, though, too? I mean, so you were attracted to the man.
Yes, but you were confident.
Yeah.
And well liked because of how you treated people. That didn't have to do with you were this amazing baseball player.
Sure.
It was fun to watch you play baseball,
Thank
but
you.
that wasn't it. It was your presence and how you treated people. So that didn't go away. And
I see.
so
Yeah, that's good.
it had to be that shift of what does that mean to be a confident leader of the family? Well, it looks different. In our case, it doesn't probably look like it would
Yeah.
in most of the other houses on our block, say.
So service has been something that we've talked about. We've had this ideal, this value of serving people, serving each other. Is there anything with the concept of serving that we saw modeled through our counseling?
Well, I think definitely she obviously has a passion for helping people and helping them figure things out. And she was a lifesaver. She was a godsend for us when we needed it.
What did we need from her?
Poor Libby. We needed a lot from her.
We did, didn't we?
We did. I mean, we needed somebody to listen. We needed somebody to interpret even, I think, our own feelings. I mean, we weren't understanding each other, so we needed kind of that moderator, but we needed somebody to, even when we spoke, to help us understand what it was that we were actually feeling.
Yeah. Did you feel like you could? So one of my critiques of you early, I mean, this is
One of the many.
so harsh. Yeah, no, and I value that critique of me because the truth of the matter was that I believed that you could not connect with your feelings and then express them verbally.
I do remember that.
Yes.
I remember that critique, yes.
Yes. I don't have that critique of you anymore.
Well, and I
by the
think
way.
part of it again is when you think of how you're raised, right, and how all of that plays in. You know, we thought we were raised very similarly, and in a lot of ways we were.
That's true.
But then there was some obvious differences in just how our families communicated. So
Yes.
my family
Yeah.
is very quiet, and I'm not sure that I ever remember my parents raising their voice to me. And your
That's
family,
incredible. That
not because
still
I
doesn't
didn't
compute.
do anything wrong, but when I did do something wrong, it was a let's sit down, let's talk about this, and we're disappointed, and this is why, and it's that kind of a conversation. And in your family, as you know, it's the loudest voice is who gets heard. So you just talk over each other. And so
Yes.
I think when we first got married, and that critique was valid because you're dominating in the conversation and I'm shying away and I shut down, and I'm not going to have this conversation, and I'm not going to share with you how I'm feeling because
You're bullying me.
that's what it felt like. Bullying is a good word. So as we learned how to communicate better, I think, and just a little bit more evenly, I now can get passionate about things too, and I can speak louder than
That's
you can.
actually a really cool. I haven't thought of it like that. It's rare that you speak louder than me, but the truth is that it has balanced out. I mean, you've become capable of expressing yourself in a way that you were probably incapable of or I don't know if that's even the right way to say it, but you didn't communicate the way you do now.
Right.
And I didn't communicate the way
Right.
I do now.
Right.
For the most part.
Right. And again, that's learning to grow together. It goes back to that, I think, because I don't think the way either one of us communicated was wrong. It's just what we knew. It's what had been modeled to us, and so that's what we brought into our marriage.
So we got married young.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people these days don't get married young. They wait.
Yeah.
And so kind of the school of thought, I guess, is that you wait so that you can get, more established and you know yourself and know what you want and all of that. And we didn't have that. Mm-hmm. And yet I don't feel like I missed anything. The idea of establishing ourselves together made more sense to me. Did it make sense to you, or do you have regrets in that regard?
No, none whatsoever. I don't think it was like the easy path, but I don't think that there is an easy path. So I think you could wait until you're more established and all of that to get married, and that's fine. But then you're bringing in different. Now you're set in your ways, and maybe it's not so easy to adjust to somebody else because you've established yourself. So I think it just depends. It wasn't an easy route for us, but we knew, and we said from the beginning we wanted to grow together. So in those early stages especially, I was 20. I couldn't even drink alcohol. So it's like you're growing up and figuring out who you are still and having to figure out the other person as well.
Yeah.
That's tricky.
It is tricky.
But fun.
And it is fun too. I mean, that's kind of as I look back, it's easy to kind of I think you could go both directions. It's easy to be like, "Oh, that was hell." I mean, it's easy to just be like, it sucked so much.
Our honeymoon phase was very short.
It was so short. Oh my gosh, it was so short. Well, it was
an hour.
For me.
Just kidding.
Well, pretty much. I mean, for me, it was. That's painful. But yeah, there's also the other side of it, which was, without going rose-colored glasses, it was really a joy to grow together.
Yeah.
And okay, well, let's move on to just this idea though of one of the things that impacted me, and it may not have impacted you the same way, but this idea of grief, of grieving. So Libby may have read you properly, or she may have just thrown this out, just like just threw this thing out. But her thing was, Kariann, it's okay to grieve the man that you thought you married. Now, talk about that just briefly, because that, I know she was either reading you correctly or she was just being like, hey, just giving you permission to let go. Talk about that, because that kind of weaves into this too.
Okay. So, and I kind of feel like maybe it even came from, she had recommended a book, and if I was more prepared, I think it's Loving Someone with Bipolar or something like that. And that concept was in there, and it struck me of, and I think this could be for anybody. I mean, there is that ideal. I definitely had this romanticized Disney version of what happily ever after was supposed to look like. And what we were living was not my idea of happily ever after. And so just that grieving of not that you are this, not the man that I thought you were going to be. I don't think it was that. I think it was just go ahead and realize, okay, what you thought, that's not happening. That's not a thing. Grieve that, move on. And I think there's something to that, because then you can look at how we live now. I mean, it's not even remotely close to what I thought our happily ever after was, but holy cow, it's better than that.
Okay, so wrapping up, this has been really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
This idea of kind of, on the one hand, there's the grief component, and then on the other hand, there's this idea of dreaming new dreams together. That was the next component that Libby threw out is go ahead and grieve, but not for too long.
Right. Don't stay there.
Don't stay there.
Yeah.
Dream new dreams. And that was just like this, I mean, it was this glorious, the clouds parted, and I could see, and I don't want to speak for you, so I don't know, but there was this glimmer of hope. At least I felt like I felt as if I saw Kariann come alive again. That sense of, oh, that's actually possible. Was there some of that there, or had you already gotten there?
Probably both. My Pollyanna syndrome.
Explain that real quick.
So
Who's Pollyanna?
Oh, if you haven't seen Pollyanna, go see Pollyanna. That's crazy.
It's a Disney movie.
A Disney movie, and she's just always happy, and everything's great, and I won't give away the ending.
Which is you.
Which is me. Which is
Always
totally.
And everything's great.
Everything's great.
Eternal optimist.
Yes. And
which is a giant gift to me. Thank you for that.
Maybe not all the time, but sometimes it's okay to just have a bad day, and they do exist, and that's all right.
Good point.
But I do. So yes, there's that grieving, but then, move on from that. And I think also, obviously, our faith helps that in just knowing God's got us. He's got a plan, and we're going to make it. We're going to survive, and not just survive, but really flourish, I think.
So, but no, in regard to the idea of dreaming new dreams, though, that's the idea that I felt like we accomplished. We actually pulled it off.
Yeah.
And we didn't just do it ourselves. I mean, I feel like we took one step after another with a good team around us.
Yeah. Huge team and
friends,
support. Yeah, absolutely.
Family.
Between family, friends, medical team. I mean, it takes a village for sure. And we've been really fortunate with that. But it's also because we've let them in. I mean, we sought that
choice.
support, and we opt to live in such a way that people can speak in and hopefully help guide us.
Even to this day.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some things figured out, but we don't have it all figured out.
Not all of it. We're raising teenagers. We don't have it all figured
Oh,
out.
that's really true. Yeah. Okay, so just kind of to wrap it up, do you have, when you kind of think through the journey, just the conversation journey we've been on, just in these few moments, is there kind of a final thought in regard to this? I didn't prep you for it, but is there a destination that you can kind of take us to in regards to grief or dreaming new dreams or getting married young, waiting, anything like that? Anything about heroic disgrace as a concept
Well, I think
or a lifestyle?
what I would probably go back to is the dreaming new dreams, the thinking outside of the box, kind of that. You got to figure it out. Like for us, like we've said, the option, we did not have the option to quit. That was not in our vocabulary.
And I thank you for that immensely, because
Absolutely, that was a commitment that we made in front of hundreds of people, and we weren't going to go back on that. So we definitely could have, and some people make that choice, and there's all different reasons for that. But for us, we knew that's not an option. We're going to figure this out,
right.
and we just make those choices. You make that choice every day that you're going to make this happen, and whatever that looks like. And for us, it's turned out pretty good, I would say.
Kariann, thank you. This has been good.
Good.
I love you and all that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. This has been really good. We'll catch you later. Thanks, Kariann.
Peace out.